Two similar portfolios with two drastically different results. Folks, today I'm going to talk about two brothers, Steve and Bill, and how that happened to them. When is it that you need a will? What are those reasons? When do you want to be paying tax on your money? Have you ever heard of what an income bucket approach is? Well, I'm going to talk about all these things today, so stay tuned.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to have a little bit of fun with you, okay? I'm going to take two brothers. They're going to retire at the same age, all right? And they're going to start off with the same amount of money. Let's say $500,000. They're going to take 5% out each month, for each year, I should say, for income. All right, so that'd be about $25,000 per year. All right, now I'm going to add they're going to be invested exactly the same to the penny. All right, and I'll add this: they're going to be in this. They're going to have the same amount of tax qualified accounts, meaning the same mix of IRA, Roth IRA, maybe non-retirement money. All right. Again, invested exactly the same way in all those accounts, taking income from the same account. All right? Do you see any difference here? All right? Now, at the end of 10 years, the one brother, he has just a little over $1.3 million. Not bad, right? Starts off with $500,000, just about triples his money while he was taking income from it each year. Not bad. The second brother, all right, at the end of 10 years, taking this same amount out each year, all right, starting off with the same amount, invested exactly the same way, at the end of 10 years, his account is worth just a little over $200,000. Folks, what happened? What happened? How did the one brother just about triple his money and the other one lost better than half its value during that period of time? What happened? Now, I'm going to give you a moment to just kind of think about that, right? Remember, they were invested exactly the same way, had the same amount of tax-qualified accounts, taking income from the exact same accounts, and let's add this, maybe they're taken exactly in the same day. What happened? Folks, this is what happened. The only difference between those two portfolios, or those two brothers, was when they retired. The first brother retired in 1990. All right, and guess what he got for 10 years? Nothing but an up market. The second brother retired in 2000, and look what he got. He got 911, right? Market dropped to half its value from 2000 to 2002. And then again in 2008, lost half its value. The only difference between those two brothers or those two portfolios was simply when they retired. So I pose this back to you. If you're somebody that's near retirement or in retirement, you know, how willing are you to gamble what you have in the hopes that you might get the market that the one brother got, but what if you got the market that the other brother got? I encourage you, if that's a concern for you because you're in that situation, near retirement or in retirement, then give us a call, because that's not something you want to be gambling with. You want to be very careful with. So give us a call.
Larry, I really enjoy that Steve versus Bill example, because it's so true, isn't it, guys? I mean, we're looking at your portfolio, running an analysis, and seeing, okay, if the markets continue on this trend, everything looks great, but what happens if markets turn? And that's, who knows what time we're in right now, but we've been seeing these, it seems like all-time highs hitting the markets almost on a daily basis. And so now it's a matter of wondering, okay, when is that going to drop? And when we run the analysis, something that we offer at no cost, no obligation meeting is to run an analysis on your portfolio to better understand sort of how you're positioned and actually how your portfolio would have performed during the most recent drop in the market, and actually going back to even the 2000, 2001, 2002 drop. So we can get a real good visual of what sort of risk you might be taking in your portfolio, and it may be something you're a bit uncomfortable with.
John, that's exactly right. There potentially is no better time than the present to get that review. If you're somebody that's nearing retirement or in those early years of retirement, it's critical. Oftentimes when we find ourselves in these really good markets, we get complacent. There's times when, things are going along well. It's like your car, right? If there's no mechanical issues, you kind of forget about it and it gets you from point A to point B. Your portfolio is probably doing the same thing. Every month you look at your statement and it goes up and life is grand. But guess what? If you're starting to take income from that, there's a lot of things that maybe you need to adjust or consider, like with the Steve versus Bill story, timing is important. And when you start taking distributions, it changes the game with your retirement portfolio.
Yeah, guys, I think this is the time people need to get that second opinion. When things are good is when you want to see, how you're positioned to make sure that if there is a big market downturn, it's not going to affect your overall income plan. Well, anyway, I want you to stay tuned because in the next segments, I'm going to talk about when you need a will, and then I'm going to talk a little about when you want to pay tax on your money. So stay tuned.
If you're retired or soon to be retired, let us help you plan to retire well. Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning and has offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. We'll never pressure anyone to become a client. Our goal is to inform and educate. Simply attend one of our live events or schedule a meeting at one of our Northern Michigan office locations for a free, no obligation retirement review.
Hi there, my name is Nick Greenman. I'm one of the financial advisors here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Brand new to the Gaylord office. I'm here full-time now, and I'll also be commuting back to the Petoskey office as well. I'd love to hear your story and learn if I could help you manage your retirement needs.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. Our presentation includes highlights of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 and the big opportunity it presents over the next 7 years. The surviving spouse tax trap, how can you avoid it? How two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results. What's the definition of a bull market? Do you know your risk exposure? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, March 10th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, March 12th at Lakeside Charlie's in Cadillac, or Tuesday, March 17th at Big Buck Brewery in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about the reasons you might need a will. Okay? Now, this is just one of those documents they'll do when an attorney is doing an estate plan for you. Now, I am not an attorney myself, but I'm just going to give you some reasons that I've heard that they'll say that you need one for. First of all, a good estate plan is when all your assets know where to go. Okay? Now, a lot of times you can set that with a beneficiary designation. But if an asset doesn't know where to go, then it's going to have to go through probate. And a will becomes the instruction manual for probate in deciding where that asset's going to go. So if you had an asset that didn't have a beneficiary designation on it, and it's in the will that it goes to a certain person, and then it goes through probate, that's where it's going to go, exactly where you want it to go. That would be one reason to have a will. Now, you may think you're doing a good job setting all the designations or beneficiary designations in all your assets, but what if you add something later on and you miss it, and you forget to put that on there, or somehow it gets lost? We've seen this happen with 401k plans. You know, they were with one custodian, they set the beneficiary designation, that plan changed custodians, and then somehow the beneficiary information got lost, which is, you know, happens quite often. Well, in that particular case, a will would catch that because it would go through probate and then know where to go. All right, another reason you might need a will is, what if you have a family, you still have kids at home, and you want to set who's going to be the caretaker for your kids, for your minor children? Well, you can put that in the will. Now, another good reason to have a will is designating who you want to be the representative of your estate. All right, you're going to want to set that. You're going to probably want to be the one that decides who's going to do that. Now, I've just given you some good reasons to have a will. Again, this is something when we're sitting down with the attorneys, we're doing estate planning, this is one they'll always want to put in there, but at least give you some ideas why you might want to have one. So hopefully you found this valuable. If you're somebody that wants some estate planning and wants to know how that fits in your scenario, then give us a call.
We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
If you're retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, join us for an informative live event. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, and the information you need to help you build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is simply to give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. We hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll be one step closer to your retirement goals. Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to ask you a question. When do you want to be paying tax on money? Think about it. You want to be paying tax on money when you're using it. Would that not be true? Folks, we often find people come in and we're looking at their tax situation, and we'll find that in many, many cases, people are paying taxes on money when they're not even using it yet. Now, you might ask, Larry, how can that happen? Well, let me just give you a scenario. Let's say somebody comes in and they've got pension income, and now they've got Social Security income on top of that, all right? And that, for the most part, is meeting their income needs. But then they got this other account out there. It's what we call a non-qualified account. It means just non-retirement money sitting there that's producing interest, dividends, maybe capital gains. Now, it's money that they don't need today, okay? But it's money they're having to pay tax on because it's a non-qualified account, right? So they're having to pay tax on it today when they're not even using it. This is just a great example of why tax planning is so vitally important. Because, you know, when you're trying to take income, all right, you first of all, you're going to have to ask yourself, what accounts am I going to take that income from? Let's say you're a person that has IRA money, you have Roth IRA money you build up, and then again you have that non-qualified money. And you're trying to see what is the best bucket to pull that money from as you're taking income in retirement. Well, for tax planning, it's going to be very important to go in there and look at that scenario and see which one makes sense. If you're fortunate enough to be somebody that has money in every one of those buckets, it's going to make tax planning very easy for us, because then we can control the taxation. You know, we might not only pull out enough out of the IRA money because we might want to stay in the lower tax bracket, right? Or maybe we're in the higher tax bracket, so maybe we want to take a little, you know, lower down the IRA money and pull a little bit more out of the non-qualified bucket. You know, tax planning is going to be huge in this regard. It's very important as well, because when you're looking at your Roth IRA money and then you've got the IRA money, maybe if we have some room in that lower tax bracket, we can be moving some money from one bucket into another bucket. In this example, money from my IRA bucket into my Roth IRA bucket. So if you're somebody that's, you know, near retirement or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, you're trying to figure out how this all works for you, then I encourage you to give us a call. We'd be glad to sit down and look at your scenario and see what is a good fit for you.
You know, Larry, I love it when you get into taxes. You know, I know you had your own tax and accounting practice for over 25 years and have a great deal of knowledge in that. And I think it's something people often underestimate, especially with their retirement planning. If you want to retire well, tax planning must be a critical role of that. We can no longer just look at a 401k statement or IRA statement and that be your only plan. When do you want to pay taxes? Depends, right? When the rates are the lowest, or at least in present time. We don't want to be paying tax on money we're not using, but tax planning is a critical role. If you don't have a tax plan, it's critical that you talk to somebody today about that. We can help you here at our office and go into much more in-depth conversation, because everybody's unique, as you know.
Yeah, guys, I was having a conversation with somebody last week, and we were talking about they're looking at their IRA balance and everything, and I was pointing out to them, you know, that balance isn't really all yours, and they sort of get that weird look at, like, what are you talking about, John? And they then, as we discussed taxes, they recognized, okay, yeah, there's a portion of that when we were talking through the idea or the concept of moving money from, say, an IRA bucket over to a Roth IRA bucket, and that there's a tax consequence for doing that. And so they were saying, well, okay, but it's less money over here, but we had to get past that fact of, well, there's tax implications, even just leaving that money in your IRA as that grows, and eventually you'll pay tax on that, or beneficiaries will, versus getting it over to the Roth IRA and seeing then the tax-free growth and then the potential for tax-free distributions down the road for you. So it's a key concept that I think a lot of people struggle getting past, but it's very important to understand that.
Yeah, this is a great case, guys, why we do holistic planning, right? So many times we're dealing with a situation where, you know, somebody wants to take income, we're handling their investments, so we want to, which accounts are we going to pull from? And then when we pull from those accounts, what are the tax consequences going to be accordingly? And then do we have the right beneficiary designations for estate planning purposes? There's so much that goes into planning that you better have a good knowledge, a fair knowledge of it all, so you make wise decisions. So many advisors out there, when it comes to the taxes, you just say, well, just call your accountant, right? And then a lot of times that communication doesn't happen properly, and then the wrong thing ends up getting done. So folks, again, if you're that person that needs tax planning and your advisor is maybe not providing it, then certainly give us a call. Now stay tuned, because in the next segments I'm going to talk about income planning, one approach to it that you might want to consider. Stay tuned.
What can Retirement Analyzer do for you? Retirement Analyzer is a software tool that can help you prepare today for your financial future. You've worked hard to save for your retirement, but as you near your retirement, you may have concerns. Have I positioned my retirement savings wisely? Have I saved enough for retirement, and will my savings last throughout my lifetime? What impact could inflation have on my future expenses? What if I suffer a long-term illness? Will I have enough money to cover my medical care expenses and still be able to meet my other financial obligations? could changes in the income tax rates disrupt my retirement strategy? There's no need to be in the dark as you prepare for your retirement. Retirement Analyzer can help you find answers to all these questions and more. The first step is providing us with information on your financial assets, the type and current value of those assets, as well as your sources of income. Then, we work with you to identify your expected expenses in retirement. This will include a discussion of the lifestyle you envision in retirement, travel, a summer residence, whatever you dream your retirement will be. We'll input the information you provide us into the Retirement Analyzer, and in a very short time we'll have reports that show us the percentage of assets currently in high-risk vehicles as well as the percent in lower-risk products. Retirement Analyzer enables us to project your income from year to year in your retirement and see how long your retirement savings may last. As we change the conditions of the report, delaying your retirement date, including costs for long-term care, adjusting the expected tax rate, or adjusting your retirement strategies, we can see how changes in these variables may impact your income in retirement and the longevity of your retirement savings. Let the Retirement Analyzer help you test drive your retirement strategy today, because the time to discover the bumps in the road is not once your trip through retirement has begun. Contact our office today to schedule an appointment for your Retirement Analyzer review.
Are you retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years? Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. 3 dates and locations to choose from. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Call 888-608-5825.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment of Chalk Talk, I want to show you how you might structure a portfolio to get the best results, especially if you're taking income, okay, or you're in retirement. First of all, I want you to take your total savings. Okay, this is everything you have, from IRA money, 401k money, maybe even, that non-retirement money, okay? I want you to take all of that, and then I want you to, number one, segment enough aside for emergencies, okay? That would be your savings account. I've heard some people say, well, that needs to be 3 months income. Others say 6 months, maybe even a year. Doesn't matter. Is whatever amount you feel comfortable with having set aside for any kind of an emergency that might come around. Now, how that money is going to be invested, it's going to be highly liquid, it's going to be highly conservative, right? Because I may need that with a very short notice. The second thing I want you to do is then set aside money and put it in what we call the income bucket, okay? When you're working and you're getting a paycheck every week, maybe every other week, okay, your income needs are being met. And then you've got your savings doing what it's supposed to do, right? Hopefully growing. Well, like in this bucket, to the bucket you need to create to give yourself a steady amount of income that's going to replace that paycheck, especially when you get to retirement. All right? Now, once I've set aside money for that, then I've got what I call the conservative growth bucket. Okay, this is money that you want to set aside for all those intermediate term needs, okay? Maybe it's a car repair, maybe it's a car replacement, all right? Maybe it's a home improvements, home repair. Maybe it's those extra vacations we want to take, those ones that might be on our bucket list, right? Maybe it's some of those healthcare costs we want to set aside for. Whatever it might be, that's going to be invested in a certain way as well. because I might need it in your term, or I don't want it having a lot of volatility, right? Now, if I've set aside for my emergencies, I've set aside for my income and maybe anything that might come up in interim, then everything else can pretty much go in that growth bucket. All right, that's traditionally how we probably had things invested while we were working. Okay, that can have a little bit of volatility associated with it because I don't need it for income, I don't need it for emergencies, okay, but I do want it hopefully to grow. Okay, I want it to grow because as this bucket, I use this bucket, I want some of this maybe to replace and get back into that bucket. So folks, if you use what we call the bucket approach and you structure it accordingly, the kind of results you're going to have are going to be much, much better in retirement. If this is something you want to see for yourself, then I encourage you, give us a call. We'd be glad to run through this with you and how it might be appropriate for you.
Really good concept, Larry, and something that we like to use to help you plan to retire well is mapping out a long-term income plan. And a lot of times we come across scenarios where folks are maybe saying, well, what amount should I keep in savings? And I hear other people say, well, I'm going to use my savings for my income for the next however many years, but they're not necessarily taking into consideration, well, what about those retirement accounts that have the taxation on those? Are you really putting yourself in a place where maybe, okay, yeah, maybe you're saving taxes today, but going to hurt you pretty heavy come down the road? And so that's something we want you to be careful about, and that's where we offer no cost, no obligation second opinion to better understand your investments and how you're structuring them, not just from an investment perspective, but then how are you mapping out an income plan? And one of the other things we were talking about is the length of time for investments. Larry was talking about years back and everything, how maybe people would go into the market and say, oh, I'll maybe be in the market for a year or something. Well, nowadays we would say if you're going to be in the market, you should probably be in there for at least, 5 years would be reasonable. And so that's something too that with shorter term investments, you want to be really careful with that and make sure that you're looking at all those different scenarios to best understand how that's going to be invested and how it'll be structured.
You know, John, you said something that I thought was really interesting, and it spurred a thought in my mind. You know, people come into our office and they're almost proud to show us their tax return or something, and they're paying little to no taxes. Look at, I'm getting this healthcare subsidy, maybe if they're prior to Medicare age, and they're very proud of the fact that they're paying little to no taxes, but they're growing this huge tax bomb later on. When that person did their kind of income planning, they failed to look at tax planning. Earlier in the show, we talked about that, and it's vital when you're looking at income. It's not just numbers and investments and amounts of money. There's a big tax piece that goes along with this. You know, John's talking about paying, this non-taxable money, maybe keeping taxes low, but what's growing? Those IRA balances, required minimum distributions down the road. This kind of tax bomb is looming. So when you're doing income planning, tax planning must walk alongside hand in hand. Otherwise, you're only potentially creating a monster down the road.
Yeah, I think people have greater peace of mind when they use this kind of approach, when they've got their income needs and their savings needs met fully. Then it's kind of like when they were working, right? You're getting a paycheck and my account's over here, I don't need it right away. So, even if it's taking maybe a little bit more risk, then it's okay. Folks, I just strongly encourage you, if you're somebody that's near retirement or in retirement and you want to plan for retirement well, then certainly give us a call and we'll help you with that.